Hello and welcome to the special edition of Newsmakers, where we focus on the ongoing crisis at Jet Airways. A change in management is imminent. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 that lenders led by SBI are now looking at a change in management and may soon ask the airline's founding chairman Naresh Goyal to step down. Lenders may infuse 1,500 crore rupees in the debt-laden airline and bring in someone to run the company. Sources also say that the plan has the buy-in of the government. Finance Ministry sources tell us the government has given banks the go-ahead to work out a revival plan while averting jet landing up at the NCLT. Now, this move has been prompted by current investor Etihad's unwillingness to infuse more funds. Even as lenders get ready to junk the current resolution plan that they've been working on, Naresh Goyal is still on the lookout for an investor and is said to be currently in Dubai. As the uncertainty continues, Jet's operations have taken a big knock. As of today, only 35 Jet Airways planes are currently active out of a total fleet size of about 119. This means only 29% of Jet Airways planes are currently flying. The man in the cockpit today, State Bank of India Chairman Rajneesh Kumar, met with the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley at North Block earlier. Speaking post that meeting, Kumar said, and I quote, "All hope is not lost," adding that lenders are still in talks with Etihad. The SBI chairman did add that he hasn't received any direction from the government.
IBC means that we are grounding the airline. So we will try till such time we believe that all hope is lost. But as on date, I can say that not all hope is lost. So we have not reached that decision point where we say enough is enough and nothing can be done and let the airline be grounded.
What is government's direction to you?
Government's no direction. One thing you have to understand, I dislike this word. We are bankers. We know our commercial interest. It is our duty to keep the government informed. There is one unanimous view that till such time all hope is not lost, effort should be made to keep the airline running, and everybody believes that Jet Airways is a good aviation property.
So when we see Etihad moving out,
Etihad, try to read their statement, that try to understand the situation. There is on one hand one partner, there is another, right? And if both cannot arrive at a consensus, we are, and what is lenders or our interest? Our interest is in Jet Airways. Our interest is not in the promoter. Our interest is not with this any other partner or this. They will take decisions based on their assessment of the situation. But the dialogue with Etihad, I can tell you, is on.
Well, that is Rajneesh Kumar, the chairman of State Bank of India, the lenders that are leading that consortium, saying that all hope is not lost. We'll discuss that further in just a bit, but before we go to our experts, let's bring in our reporters who've been tracking the story. Ritu Singh and Anu Sharma join us now with more. Ritu, let me come to you first. Now, SBI's current plan for Jet Airways revival, it looks very clear that that plan is perhaps going to be junked. We also are given to understand that lenders may in fact ask Naresh Goyal to step down with immediate effect. What are you picking up?
Well, absolutely, Shereen. You know, the bank-led resolution plan was based on both of the partners agreeing to do their bits before lenders infuse any fresh funds into the airline. But now, of course, with the two promoters not able to reconcile, on one hand, you have Naresh Goyal, who's not stepping back with his demands. And on the other hand, you have Etihad now threatening to pull out of Jet Airways altogether. So lenders have really been scrambling. But we're given to understand that for now, you know, banks are in favor of a complete overhaul or a change in management, and they are looking to ask Naresh Goyal to step down from the board of Jet Airways with immediate effect. In fact, not just Naresh Goyal, they're also looking to ask Anita Goyal and some of Naresh Goyal's close aides to also step down from Jet Airways as opposed to what the bank-led resolution plan had envisaged. Banks now want Naresh Goyal to bring down his stake to about 10% versus 17% is what was discussed earlier. So clearly, a new plan is in the works as far as the current management is concerned. But on the other hand, there is also, the Etihad Airways bit of it where Etihad is looking to exit. So banks are looking to find a new investor, perhaps even a private equity player. But in the event that they're unable to find one, lenders are even okay, picking up that entire 24% stake that Etihad has in the airline. Both of these are just moving pieces right now. We're yet to see a final call on this. Another option that lenders have also considered in their meeting yesterday is that additional funds will be given, but on the condition condition that Goyal and Etihad pledge their stake in the airline. So all of these are going to be considered, and we understand that the bank chiefs will now be meeting to take a final call as to how to take this forward.
Okay, Ritu, several moving parts there and several unanswered questions as well. Thanks very much for joining us with that. Joining us now to discuss this further, Sanat Kaul, the former Joint Secretary Aviation, Dhiraj Mathur, partner at PwC, Kapil Kaul, CEO Satesh at CAPA, and HP Ranina, corporate lawyer. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Mr. Ranina, I want to come to you, sir, and I want to start by asking you on the possibility, and I ask you this because this is source-based information, no final decision has been taken yet. But if at all, the lenders are looking at effecting a management change and virtually easing Naresh Goyal out along with his wife. Naresh Goyal continues to be a controlling shareholder at this point in time, sir. How will the lenders be able to do that without going through the NCLT process or at least without going through Section 241 of the Companies Act, which basically cites oppression for change of management?
Well, it's all a question of Naresh Goyal voluntarily stepping down. So the question of his removal doesn't arise. If they are trying to tell the Naresh Goyal, if you want us to bail out your airline, then these are the conditions. So you voluntarily step down, you and your wife. That is not in any way bothered about the company law. So there's no question of legal processes. That is a voluntary thing, and I think Naresh Goyal should step down because the institution is more important.
But if he sure, but if he chooses not to, sir, because I mean there has been a lot of back and forth between Naresh Goyal, Etihad, as well as the lenders on the current bank-led resolution plan. There has been no agreement on, for instance, the controversial perpetuity clause, which Etihad has a problem with. So one is assuming that Naresh Goyal may want to voluntarily exit, but if he chooses not to, what then will the lenders have to do to effect a management change?
Yeah, then the lenders will definitely take legal recourse, and they will maybe go to NCLT, take Jet Airways into liquidation because their debts are unpaid. So there's no choice for Naresh Goyal but to voluntarily step down. Otherwise, the company goes into liquidation. Jet Airways closes down immediately. There's no other choice.
Which we've heard, which the government has made clear, as well as the lenders have made clear, that that is not an option that they want to exercise. In fact, that is the option of the last resort, is what they've said on record, Mr. Ranina.
You're right, absolutely right. It will be the last resort. But if Naresh Goyal does not step down voluntarily, and if the lenders feel that that's the only way out, including Etihad, the major partner, they don't want Naresh Goyal to continue for whatever reason, then he has to step down. There's no other way. Otherwise, nothing will work out. This will be like, Brexit. It will be just, going out of the union with the heart pump, and that is what will happen to Jet Airways. It will just get grounded. There's no other solution but for Naresh Goyal to step down.
Mr. Ranina, yesterday when we were in conversation with Kapil Kaul, and Kapil is on the program, and this is again something that we're getting to pick up, which gives credence to the argument that Kapil was presenting on the show, that can we see an Island FS-like situation when it comes to Jet Airways as well? Do you believe that that could be a situation that plays out here as well, Mr. Ranina?
Well, if it's possible, certainly it should play out. But I don't know it because there are three parties involved. One is the lenders, second is the Etihad, and the third is Naresh Goyal. So all three have to be on the same, wavelength, and both of them have to be on board. Otherwise, nothing will work. Because Etihad, it appears to me, is as obstinate as Naresh Goyal is.
Yes, that it seems is the case today. Let me bring in Kapil Kaul. Kapil, you were alluding to this last night when we spoke, and you just heard the SBI chairman saying very clearly that they hope that they will be able to pull something through. At this point in time, it looks like the lenders are clear. They want Naresh Goyal out. They possibly also are looking for an investor to buy the Etihad stake. As you piece this together, what seems to be the most likely outcome to your mind?
Good evening, Shereen. As we spoke last evening, I think there is no other option. Timing is critical, and I'm surprised that it's taking too long for that decision, because the decision time is now. the banks or the lenders need to decide which of the two promoters is strategic to the turnaround. And if Etihad is strategic to the turnaround, the option is buy them out, and it's not on the equity value, but it's also the loan of about 100 million that they have guaranteed to HSBC. There is a frequent flyer stake they have, so it may be roughly over 300 million. But whatever may be the case, that if Etihad is going to be backing out, and if they think that it's not strategic to the turnaround, then there's no other option to have some other institution apart from NIF or NIF itself to buy them out. Timing is critical because if we keep lingering this on for a long time, the equity infusion to turn around may be inadequate. We have already Q4 lost. Q1 is already lost because 70 planes are down. Q2 is a lean season. We're heading for Q3. So by the time the amount of funding that will be required to bridge the losses are going to be massive. So even the equity infusion in the lender's plan that was structured will be inadequate. So in any case, it has to be very decisive, and I don't see it going beyond 31st of March.
Kapil, just on the point of the NIIF, because as per the current bank-led resolution plan that was being worked out, we were given to understand that the NIIF would pick up about 20% stake. What we now pick up from our sources is that lenders are also looking at other possible investors, people who may have expressed interest in the past or previously, private equity, for instance. We are again given to understand that Naresh Goyal is currently abroad trying to look for investors. You've previously said that you won't write off Naresh Goyal. He's a man who has 9 lives, so to speak. But do you think that the time is now up, Kapil?
Well, it seems so. I think in all the challenges that are surfacing, continuation of the current promoter seems to be central to the dispute. And so the government, and we had said that last year itself, that if promoter has to bow out and the institution is to be saved, that should be the case. Whatever is emerging out of the discussions is the promoter is a challenge. So if promoter is a challenge, then the institution is more important. So the government has to take a decision. But to your point that whether we can get an investor, it's impossible. There's no time for investor to put in money. There has to be months of due diligence required. I mean, how can you do it in a few days? The airline is running on just last few days. So it's critical that the government takes the bold decision. No matter what people say that it's not government's job to bail out, Jet is a viable and an investable and capable of a turnaround in a quicker possible time. It has assets like the frequent flyer program. It has roughly $400 million assets, equity in the owned aircraft. It has lots of intangible assets. It's not Air India. So no matter what the conversations are coming up, Jet is critical for the economy, for the industry and the consumer. You cannot create another Jet overnight. And you cannot get an investor when you have few days left. So I think the lenders must take a bold call now and don't linger it for long.
I guess that is what is weighing on both the lender's mind as well as the government's mind. Let's go across to our colleague Anu Sharma. She's tracking this story as well. Anu, what's the view within government, within the Civil Aviation Ministry now? What are you picking up on where things currently stand? Lessors, I believe, have given the airline a 72-hour deadline.
Well, that's right. In fact, late evening today, the Civil Aviation Secretary Pradeep Singh Karola, DGCA Chief B.S. Puller and other senior government officials, they met the representatives from Indigo, SpiceJet, GoAir and Air India, basically to formulate a contingency plan of sorts, given that almost 70% of Jet Airways fleet is on ground. And now that the airline is not using a lot of its slots, a lot of its routes, so they are looking at other airlines to come into the picture and make use of this vacant capacity that has come. These 4 airlines have basically said that they will be able to add a cumulative count of around 20 to 25 planes by the end of April. The next step will be that the ministry will call Jet Airways day after to basically ask them that how many planes are you operating, and as per the number of aircraft that you have, how many routes and how many slots do you really need and can offer to the passengers, and depending on that, the left out routes, the left out slots will then be offered to these airlines, the 4 players. In fact, AirAsia India and Vistara have also promised the government that they will be able to add a small number of aircraft by the end of April. The current picture is that DGCA continues to monitor the schedule of Jet Airways on a daily basis. The airline currently has around 35 planes and the fleet is declining rapidly, so much so that government sources say that this number may go down even below 35 by the end of the day. The pilots had their meeting in Delhi today, and we are given to understand that even the Delhi pilots have said the same thing, that they will stop flying from April 1st if the company doesn't sign a letter of intent regarding payment of delayed salaries or bring money for the survival of the airline. Back to you.
All right. Anu Sharma, thanks very much for updating us. Let me go across to Mr. Sanat Kaul. And Mr. Kaul, this is clearly a situation that the government is worried about. You've already had an issue where Indigo has been impacted because of the lack of pilots. You've got a situation with SpiceJet on account of the Boeing 737 MAX 8. Now you have additional capacity being sucked out because of Jet Airways grounding a significant part of its fleet. If you were in government today, sir, what would you be weighing as the lenders and the government try and put this revival plan together?
No, it's a very difficult question to answer. We've already had State Bank bailing out Air India, then Kingfisher, and now Jet. Is this the really government's role to perform? Because, if State Bank is being used by government to ensure that, a private company is protected, then, it's going a little too far. At the same time, there is an allergy against the owner of, the dominant owner of Jet Airways, Naresh Goyal, for whatever reason. Probably his management is just too personalized and too bad, or whatever reason, but they want him out. Now, they have to decide fast, otherwise it goes to liquidation. And I think there is no reason why government can keep supporting. The taxpayers are not there to support all this. I speak for the taxpayers. I said, yeah, so everything will sort out by itself. Airlines have failed. Alitalia in Italy is already down with 900 million debt. Nothing is happening. I don't see anything happening. It is the other airlines will come in. So the ministry is, yes, there will be an increase in fares immediately, but the other airlines will bring in new planes. They'll lease out planes, bring them in, and sort it out. So
Mr. Kaul,
it's a problem which has to be sorted out internally by
unequivocally. Yeah, you're unequivocally saying that the government has no business trying to broker a bailout plan. Let it go to the IBC. There is an IBC process that's been set in place by this government. Let it go through that process.
It should, because there is no way by which government can keep supporting one airline after the other. There may be another fourth one coming in soon. So how do you manage it? It is irresponsible of the airline sector to firstly order so many planes and then the prices.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the irresponsible actions of airlines in India, absolutely, those have to be discussed as well. Of course, there are challenges within the larger ecosystem when it comes to taxes and the high cost of doing business within this sector. But there are irresponsible actions of airlines across the board that need to be discussed. No, I agree with you, sir. I mean, there is introspection that needs to be done by airlines themselves. Dhiraj Mathur, PwC, what do you expect now, given where the situation finds itself? Are you in agreement with what we just heard there from Mr. Sanat Kaul? Let this go to the IBC, let it sort itself out. Why put more taxpayer money into keeping this going?
Well, no, I disagree with what Mr. Kaul has said, with all due respect, sir, because this is not the auto sector, which is as close to perfect competition as we can get. This is a highly regulated industry. It has enormous barriers to entry barriers. It has many imperfections and most of those imperfections are on account of the regulation and control of the government. We know about the ATF pricing, right? It's the highest in the world. We know about the various issues on customs duty for MRO. We know about the government's route dispersal guidelines. We know about the lack of infrastructure that causes planes to hover for 45 minutes. So there are a lot of these imperfections in the market that are on account of omissions and commissions by the government. Now, this is not to say that this government or the previous government, or this is a fact that this is a highly regulated industry, and the government has tried to do a number of things. But as we stand today, the entire industry is in a very bad situation. You mentioned the various reasons of the, on account of different airlines and different reasons. But the underlying factors that affect all of them are the same. The ATF, the customs duty, the infrastructure. Now, having said that, we must also understand that this is a very important sector as far as the economy is concerned. Gone are the days when travel by air was a luxury. I mean, common people fly, business people fly. I mean, people fly for tourism. So this is a very vital part of the economy. There are huge multipliers as far as the aviation sector is concerned. So we have to think of the bigger picture. We must move beyond saying that why should taxpayers' money be used for this or for that. Look at the example of the United States. In the 2009 meltdown, the US government bailed out the auto companies, they bailed out some of the large financial sector companies. So, and they did it. And those companies turned around, they paid back their loans. Now, so ultimately, when we look, this is not about individuals. This is not about individual shareholders or promoters or what. This is about a larger public interest. And I think public interest merits that these airlines be saved. I agree with Mr. Kaul that there are a lot of good assets in this airline. It's fundamentally, I mean, fundamentally, it's a very attractive proposition. Now, of course, there is a lot of game theory going on, you know, that people holding out and, you know, expecting that the government or the banks will give in and so on. Now, we really have to step in, the government has to step in and say that, all right, everyone, let's calm down. This is what is in the larger public interest. And look, the same thing has happened in India. In the past also, the government has interceded in the private sector when a larger public interest has been involved. So I think that there is no option but to resolve this issue. And I doubt if the banks alone will be able to do it. I guess the government will have to step in and sort of clearly give a message to those who are sort of holding out on positions and say that, okay, now, you know, enough is enough, back off. This needs to be resolved, and we need to find an equitable way of resolving it.
Okay, fair point. Let me take that very quickly back across to Mr. Sanat Kaul. Mr. Sanat Kaul, you know, Kapil Kaul made the same point that we just heard there from Dhiraj Mathur, that this is a viable asset, it's an investable asset, and given the fact that it is a critical component of the Indian economy, it will have a significant multiplier impact if there were to be a shutdown, if this were to go under. So why should it not make sense for the lenders, along with the government, to ensure that it stays afloat and perhaps find a buyer later?
Okay, then government should take over and do a Satyam type operation. Otherwise, you know, just getting State Bank to not only give more loan, but also to convert loan into equity at, I don't know at what rate. This happened in Kingfisher. They converted and took the loss. At a very high, they converted their debt into equity at a very high rate. And Air India, in any case, is bleeding and still in ICU. So where do you draw the line? I mean, irresponsible government funding is also there. That either you take over, like what happened in Satyam, or what Japan Airlines happened to Japan Airlines when it was turned around by the, you know, they again did a Satyam type operation. And I can't see that happening at all. The ministry is not doing anything about it. They're just only worried that the passengers are suffering and 5 flights are being canced. That's not enough. That's not enough. There has to be either a takeover.
Not enough.
There is something wrong. I read in the papers that the State Bank of India had ordered a forensic audit, and I don't know what happened to that.
Audit, yes.
No, nobody has come out with that.
Well, we're given to understand, but
that was many weeks back.
Yes, that Yes, let me very quickly get HP Ranina and Kapil Kaul to comment on what we've just heard there. Mr. Ranina, and this was the point that I started with, that are we likely to see, or is that the only way left now is for the government to supersede the board of Jet Airways and take this matter forward?
Yes, I think that's a very important, alternative that they have, but they have to act fast. I agree with what has been said, that we should have something like a Satyam type operation. So Naresh Goyal has to be told very clearly in the next 24 hours, either he steps down and toes the line, or that the board will be just superseded and taken over. That's the only way to save the airline. And I agree with the previous speaker that this is an important airline. This is the ecosystem of the aviation sector has to be saved. You just can't allow one airline to go down after another. And therefore, the government has to step in and take immediate action as far as possible.
Well, will that decision be taken? When will it be taken is the crucial question. We are given to understand that all of these options are being considered. Remember, there was a crucial meeting between Rajneesh Kumar, Chairman of State Bank of India, and the Finance Minister this afternoon. And the board resolution plan that was being worked out, perhaps for now, is being junked, and a new plan is being worked with, possibly a change in management being a consideration as well. We will keep you updated on this story. But for this evening, Sanat Kaul, Dhiraj Mathur, Kapil Kaul, and HP Ranina, appreciate you joining us here on the special edition of the CNBC TV 18 Newsmaker. Stay tuned, a lot more coming up.